All right, it looks like we're live. Hello, everyone out there in the world of uh, people who like Kriegsspiel. Want to say hello and thank you to everyone for coming on today's show. We have a couple of guests today. We have Barbarian and
Hello, hello.
Belgroth. And Belgroth, can you say hello, Belgroth? He might be getting set up. But we have a couple of new players who played what I think is their first new game of Kriegspiel yesterday. Even if it's not their first game of Kriegspiel, it's their first one with the International Kriegspiel Society. And we're going to talk about some of their experiences. And if we have some time, I'm going to talk about some thoughts that I had about the game. I thought it was very interesting. I had the privilege of umpiring a particular sector of the map where I think the most interesting things occurred. So we'll be talking about that. And I want to say hello to 24/7 Brett, who I think also played in the game. So he's just arrived. And real quick, um, I want to ask each of you what your experience is with Kriegspiel and how you came to find the group. And then let's do that, and then we'll talk about each of your experiences. And here we have Barbarian saying bonjour. I believe that means he is from France. And I'm going to give him a promote here so he can manipulate everything. And bonjour, Barbarian.
Hello, hello. So I guess
Go
should
ahead.
I present myself, introduce myself? So I'm French, obviously, and I am like a lot of us, I guess, playing with toys, toy soldiers, and playing Warhammer in the 90s, and then playing historical games in the 2000s and stuff like that. And lately with COVID-19, I guess I couldn't play as much wargaming as I would have want to, and I was on Reddit, maybe Friday, and I found a post into the wargaming subreddit, and it piqued my interest, and just I posted on it, and I joined the Discord, hopped on the game of American Civil War on Friday night, and then this game of Napoleonics on Saturday night, and I had a blast. It was really cool.
Wonderful. Great. Okay, let's talk to Belgroth. Are you sorted out? Do you have your mic working?
Yeah, I'm here.
Uh,
Uh,
Go ahead.
I'm pretty much identical to him. I found out about this through the exact same post, and yesterday I joined that impromptu Civil War game just to see what it was like. That was a lot smaller in scale. I think there were just 5 players in that one. So this was the first proper game that I played of it.
Great. Did you have fun?
Oh, I definitely.
Good. That's the most important thing. And I guess if you're here on the show this morning, you must have had fun. Brett, are you with us?
Yeah.
What can you tell us? How did you find the game? How did you find the group? And yeah, that's how did you find us, and what did you think of the game?
Yeah, I'm from the U.S. and my experience, I never really done tabletop wargaming before. I do a bit of D&D and board games and stuff like that, and I was just on the tabletop sim subreddit, and someone made a post, and I thought that sounded interesting. A few years back, I used to play Mount and Blade Napoleonic Wars,
Hmm.
where I was in a regiment for a bit, so I'm used to the kind of line battle tactics, and somewhat of a degree. I thought it sounded interesting, so I joined, and that was actually my first game.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Do you have the tabletop simulator that you so you can join in on the
Yeah.
tabletop? Okay, let me know if you need the password. And let's talk about the game then. So, yesterday we played this really cool game. And in the game, I'm going to draw on the map real quick. We had actually, I wonder if well, maybe I'll draw because I think if I draw, it'll be a little easier for folks to see rather than laying down these really cool pieces. But there were 3 Spanish divisions somewhere around here. That's really hard to see. And I'm using yellow because they were yellow pieces. But somewhere around here, I think here, and something like this. And then there was a British division, actually a British corps, right up here, camped out. And the French had, uh, gosh, I don't know how many, 5 or 6 divisions. And their mission was to come up here, like this. And thank you for correcting my positioning there. I appreciate that.
What was the password?
Lowercase IKS. Roughly like this. I think we came up like this. Or, yeah, like that. Okay, there we go. So there you have it. And the French came in, and basically the Spanish were told that they were going to be attacking, that the Spanish and British Allied forces were in really good shape, the French were weak, and they were going to be attacking. But this is based on a historical scenario, and in that scenario, the French were reinforced and actually turned the tables on the Spanish and the British, the Allied forces, and managed to attack them historically. I think historically it was a French victory, but I don't know. I don't know enough about the Peninsula War to comment on that, but in any case, in this particular battle, I was umpiring over here on the left along the Moselle, and I was watching the French work their way up to attack a Spanish position, which I think was well executed by the commander of the 2nd French Division. Meanwhile, the French slammed into Spanish forces that were actually moving south. And the reason they were moving south, as their commander explained in the post battle, was he wanted to take advantage of some of this better defensive terrain down here, I suppose. He was looking for some sort of a terrain advantage. I'm not sure where, but he obviously felt that moving south was the best decision for his force. And he met the French head on in those areas, and they duked it out. And for a while, I thought the French were just going to smash. But it turned out to not happen that way. And the British, who got a late start, ended up coming down all these different ways and reinforcing the Spanish, frankly, just in time. I don't know which road he took here. He may have taken this one, or both, but he
Yeah,
did.
I was on the bridge if you want me to outline our plan.
That's perfect. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Let's do it that way rather than me guess.
So, starting out, we didn't really know where the Spanish were. We just knew they were somewhere to the south, and our communication lines kind of broke down because they're 2 miles away, but over the roads that takes a long time. So we were up here in this exercise ground.
Okay, we got it.
We were up here in this ground up here, and we didn't know where they were. So our plan was to head down to St. Blaise, and hopefully from that ground we would be able to see. So my character, let me make my opacity a bit smaller.
Yeah, so you set up an observation post.
Yeah,
See
so
what
my
you can
character
see.
went down this way through Agni, and I headed to St. Blaise.
What was your command? Which were you?
That's the
Division?
first division.
Okay.
So I was the main force with the household troops, and then we had another person head down this way, and they were going to set up in Castle Grousseau, and then another player was going to follow them down. But then once things started happening, we started to split up a bit more as we headed down. So that's how we had 3 troops at each side, and then once I got here at St. Blaise, we kept hearing cannon fire to the south, but we still hadn't gotten communications that there are even engagements over here in Corny. So even though I was the British detachment that got on the left, we didn't even know they were fighting, and I was really close to not even going there.
Wow.
I actually almost went down here, but my commander was like, "Oh, just check out the bridge, just in case there's retreating French over there." And I got to right here at the very bottom, and I saw a fleeing Spanish cavalryman. I'm like, huh, that's weird. And then I turned here, and I got right to Corny, right as I saw the Spanish break. So then I had to fill the gap, and I was holding the bridge.
Wow.
So on the British side of things, we had a lack of like a breakdown in communications. We didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
We were just rushing around trying to find out what was happening, where actually are the Spanish.
Yeah, your arrival was timely because that Spanish unit was completely destroyed. We have who here played on the Spanish side?
I was controlling the second division, the Spanish second at Sabre.
Okay, can you tell us about your experience down there?
It was quite interesting initially because there's the saying that no plan survives first contact with the enemy, but it wasn't true here. As you said, our corporal told us to move south to engage the French, and the terrain really mattered in that case because if I had remained at Sabre, I would have formed some sort of line maybe behind that ridge here, and the French would have had a very wide open field to bring their larger numbered force to bear. But because I moved forward and came into contact with them literally in the first turn of the game, they had a lot less space. They were here when I saw them, and were stuck between these forests and hills that they didn't have a lot of space to manoeuvre. And it took them a full hour to actually form a cohesive battle line to start marching up against me. And throughout the game, I was sending lots of letters out because of the woods, I couldn't see the actual size of the French or if there were any more coming, and kept pretending I was in more trouble than I was, or at least thought I was, so that the British might be more inclined to come here, which turned out to actually be a massive error because the real battle was over in the west. That was where the British were really needed, so I almost distracted the British, but I think thankfully they saw some retreating Spanish from the west, and that made them change their minds.
Yeah.
And we were still able to hold out with the men that did arrive here.
Okay, I remember this. This was a big deal because we saw the British had an interest in coming over here to what we called the Gully, and the problem was there was nothing really happening here, but the British, I think, were about to send a whole division that way. And yeah, they figured out in the nick of time that there's nothing going on there. Don't go there. Go where the action is. But that was really interesting, and that shows you how the fog of war plays in Kriegsspiel. That you might get a report or a dispatch or something, or you might hear or see something that makes you think, hey, something's going on over there. And this reinforces how important it is to scout, to have scouts out forward observing the enemy and reporting back what they actually see with their own eyes. Otherwise, you get these kind of phantom reports now and then, or you get stuff that's dated, is really what it is. You get a report, and the report is 30 minutes, 45 minutes, even an hour old, and you could be marching that way based on the report, and the forces that were involved there have already moved elsewhere. And you get there and there's nothing going on. It's great, and this is what you see in Kriegsspiel, and this is also what we see in the history books. So we know the system works, and you don't get this with Hex Encounter, other types of war games or miniature war games. You only get this with Kriegsspiel, which is what makes it worth playing. Barbarian.
Yes.
Can you share your experience with us, please?
So at 6:15, first turn, I just was here, and I saw the British cav that was on me. Just maybe I should change color here. So I was okay. The brief for me was to go all the way up there to scout. So up along the here. So I was expecting to go this way, but first turn I just stopped. I set up guns here. I tried to defend because I had one gun and 4 units of cav, and then I tried to go this way. Then I lost sight on the cavalry. Then I set my gun here. Then there was a fight around here, and then I hit some troops here. But I didn't know at the time there was a whole division around the yellow line. And in the end, the Spanish player just pushed me, destroyed my guns, destroyed half of my forces, and made them flee to the south. And I retreated with 2 units and 1 supply train this way. Hid a little bit here, sent messages to my commander-in-chief with great shame, and then linked up here, and when the game ended.
Well,
So overall, I felt it's really, I don't know how to, I know. I knew I had less units than them because I could see them with my character that was in the orchard here, I guess. And I was sending messages telling I'm bluffing them. I want them to believe that we have lost, but I was not expecting to last that long. I was believing I would die like in the first turns, and
yeah,
it's really good. It's
yeah,
really good and feels great. It feels great. It feels like it's lacks. It is what lacks in the miniature games.
yeah,
Or if you have a lot of money, you have 3 tables and three times the minis. I don't know, and a lot of time, a lot of space. It was great. I
yeah,
liked it.
yeah. No, this is a great system. And we've gone through a number of evolutions. A lot of us have played in the group. We played Kriegsspiel in person on 3 tables, and then we ported that to Tabletop Simulator because of COVID-19. And then we figured out, hey, we can break things up further and play on Discord, and now everybody has their own map. And it really intensifies the Fog of War experience. And that's how you were able to run into a Spanish division. And, unfortunately, they pushed you really, really hard and made things difficult for you. Without support against their infantry, you had a hard time. But that's the beauty of this system of Kriegspiel and running it on Tabletop Simulator and in Discord, so that the players kind of face their own personal dilemmas, and their allied players can't see what's going on, which is something they would be able to see if you're playing miniatures or something else. And so they don't know they need to come help you unless you send them a dispatch. And then they get the dispatch and they might say, "Well, I got problems of my own. I'm not going to help you. Good luck." and and then you're stuck. Um, but when teamwork occurs, good things tend to happen, and that's something that happened here on the left. On the left, I want to talk about this briefly. We had a strong Spanish division here, defending in this area here, and the French came up in a multi-pronged attack to take this position. They had their strongest 2 divisions, one here coming up the bank of the Moselle, and the second division coming up here towards the glue factory. And when he got up here and saw that the Spanish were in position here behind the brickworks and up on this high ground, he split his unit. He sent a brigade around to flank and smash the Spanish from the flank. And this was a brilliant decision that was made. Meanwhile, the first division, which was the strongest French division, sort of just kind of flirted with getting into the battle. They didn't do a whole lot. Not at first. They deployed here. They fired across the bank at the Spanish troops. The Spanish troops fired back. And it was basically, and then they shifted this way, and it was basically about an hour worth of indecisive skirmishing, at least at first. Eventually, however, this tactic would pay off for the French as the Spanish started to take more losses than the French did. But up here, the Spanish had a very powerful artillery gun, or actually, I should just say a very fortunate battery. They had a gun placed right here, and they were smashing every attack that 2nd Division sent in. This artillery punched high above its weight class. But eventually, the weight of 2 Spanish divisions, or 2 French divisions on 1 Spanish, weighed down on them, and the Spanish ultimately melted away. And the crazy thing is, just as they were finally succumbing to the French and began their retreat, the British arrived. In fact, because of their retreat, that is why the British were able to say, hey, we need to go here to Corney and defend over here, because as I understand, they didn't realize that the French were attacking here or doing much until they saw the retreating troops. Is that the
We did
case?
not. Our commander just, when we were up here, the only thing we had heard in the camp was that the Spanish saw fleeing Frenchmen and they wanted to engage. And I almost voiced that, hey, that sounds like an ambush. Maybe we should say something, but it got shot down. So we were just heading south, trying to find out where they were. When I was up here, all I heard was cannon fire coming from the south and the southeast. I didn't know where it was coming from, who it was. So when I was up here, I almost went south straight to Faye because I knew there was engagement there. But then I ended up heading west because my commander was with me. He's like, hey, at least go check it out. And then next turn, bottom of the hill, I saw two fleeing Spanish cavalry come down this hill heading north, fleeing broken. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. So then I marched immediately south up the hill, and that's when I saw the French and a few straggling Spanish that were breaking as I arrived.
And didn't you?
So then
Yeah, go ahead.
What was that?
Keep going
Well,
because I wanted to talk about your encounter with the French.
So when I got there, I'm like, well, this is bad. We can't let the bridge break because from there, from the north, all I saw was that there were units here, and I haven't yet encountered the Spanish commander. So then I split some of my troops. I had my second division, which weren't my elite troops, but they were still trained British soldiers. I sent them down there along with a detachment of German mercenaries to hold the bridge. And then I sent the rest of my troops, the one, which were the household guards, my cannon, my commander, and then another group of German mercenaries up to the hill where I saw the Spanish were. So then it turned into like a two-pronged assault where I had people in the town up here and people up here, and it turned into a prolonged engagement. Unfortunately, my people down near the bridge all fired their shot and ran out of ammo after like their first volley, and then they had to run back to go get more ammo. The Spanish I was with said that they were going to send their troops up, but that never materialized. So then the French were across the bridge and were able to come up. And when I was only there for maybe 30, 45 minutes of combat. Mm-hmm. And by that time, we were on this hill in a defensive circle protecting against the French. But my elite units were still there. My 1st Division and 2nd Division were still strong and unhurt by combat. So I feel like had it continued, I feel like the British had a strong chance of fending off there. Because we still had our cannon, we still had all our troops, all our supply wagons were there. And we were fighting wounded French. Even though it was 2 of them, they were wounded, and we were on top of a hill.
Yeah, those divisions did. They suffered some losses crossing the bridge, all of the fighting against the Spanish, and they did make a final assault, which I think was well put together and well timed. Nonetheless, the British troops repulsed them, just kind of like at Waterloo, and the French ended up having to pull back. And at that point, we decided to end the battle. It had already gone on for about 7 hours anyway of real time. And this was it was really cool though. It had kind of this ebb and flow, and for a while we weren't sure what the outcome was going to be. It felt good and it felt natural, the way a battle should have felt. The engagements were a little long for my taste, but we're working on the system. This is a system developed by one of our master umpires, and he's going to use this experience to tweak the system a little further. The ammo rule was kind of weird for all of us. I think we all agreed post-battle that the ammo rule, which makes it possible for a unit to run out of ammo in 15 minutes, which is theoretically possible, but kind of uncommon. We just saw a little too much of that, so that's going to be tweaked. But it's an interesting system, and it worked really well. And I think the battle went pretty well. How do you guys feel? Let's go to Barbarian. I'd like to ask how you feel after the battle. Do you want to come back and play some more?
Yeah, I definitely will. But I would like to, in the defense of the first French, his orders was to set up on this hill when we began the battle. And then his messages couldn't join the French High Command because there were Spaniards in the way. So I guess that's why he didn't cross earlier. But overall, I really liked the game. I felt a bit powerless, but it was okay because I don't know to say that. Since you can do little stuff, even if you don't have much, you can bluff. You can, and I enjoyed writing messages. For example, I was just role playing hardcore and just having having fun. And I would like to play again. Yes, definitely.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's great. And yes, a small force can make a big difference. So you have the right attitude and the right spirit. And frankly, it's not your fault that you ran into a Spanish division all by yourself. So um,
That's my High Command fault. That's the
exactly,
Maréchal fault.
exactly. You, sir, performed your duty courageously. All right, uh, Brett, what was your take? How do you feel about everything? You want to play again?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty fun. Over here on the British, we were getting a bit angry at the Spanish because we weren't getting any messages at all. We kept sending dispatches and weren't getting anything in reply.
Mm.
It was a lot of like, well, where even are they? Because we're just walking down here, not knowing what's going on. I kept sending dispatches to my other commanders, my other division leads. They didn't know. My commander didn't know. Our original plan was that we were going to set up on St. Blaise, and we didn't know where the French were coming from or where the Spanish were. So we actually did think that the French were coming from the west side here
Hmm.
because we didn't know. So our plan was to set up and hopefully like we could catch them in this valley here, and it just happened to work out that they're to the south. So yeah, I thought it was pretty fun. I liked it a lot. We were all really angry at the Spanish because we didn't know what they were doing. We thought they were being a bit too bloodthirsty over there, engaging without us.
Save some for us. Belgroth, what's your take?
I wish we could have continued the game. Obviously, it'd been going on for like 6.5 hours at that point, but had it not, I would have liked to have seen how it would have played out because I think there was a flank where each side was favoured and the centre was starting to turn into a stalemate. So the battle was still very much up in the air, but the best part, the most enjoyable part was the communication. I think the most interesting point of that was there was actually a point uh, just before the British arrived where I was actually saved by a key miscommunication
Mm.
where myself and the Spanish cavalry had, for the last hour and a half, been together so that we could actually speak and not have to rely on notes. And we'd both just been divvying, or I'll message these people and you'll message them, just so we could message more quickly. And he informed the British reinforcements who, to my knowledge, were coming down this road that's currently marked, that there was an entire French cavalry division at Pulnoy when it was actually just a single regiment. So they could have just ignored it. But because they were told it was a division, they ended up coming down this road instead to bring themselves closer. And that ended up being very key because of how my line broke. I had a bunch of units here tripping up over themselves, and this was all just empty. So rather than the British coming in onto the road with all their supply wagons and not being able to join the battle, they just filtered right into the exact area they were needed because they'd been wrongly told there was this whole force, this ethereal force of French ghost cavalry floating around Bonoy that just doesn't exist.
Yeah, for the British, we didn't know where they were, so we, while we were in camp, we all made the decision on our personal maps to track each other with the, like, put down additional like division on our own maps, and then like try to guess where our teammates were and then where the enemies were. So when I heard that report of Pinoy, I actually put one over there, and then I heard there were enemies in Saber and then Faye. So that's where I thought the three enemies were when I was coming down. Apparently, the Pinoy thing was only like a single detachment.
Regiment, it was like a block
Regiment,
of cavalry.
Mm. The Ghost Cavalry. Well, there
That
you
was
go.
me.
There you go, Barbarian. The Ghost Cavalry. You have a name. You have a name for your unit. And the question is, are they ghosts because they disappeared, or
They're
are they
dead.
ghosts because they died?
I saved 2 blocks. I saved, I think, the Polish Lancers maybe, and one Chasseur maybe. I don't know.
All right. Well, everybody, I want to thank you for sharing your experiences and for joining the International Kriegsspiel Society. And I do want everybody to know that we are truly International Kriegsspiel Society, as you heard from today's accents. And we welcome everybody from all around the world to come and play, get in these games. These are people who had never played Kriegsspiel before. They didn't have to learn a bunch of rules. All of them were able to just kind of step in and play based on their knowledge of Napoleonic warfare and tactics. It's all you need to bring to the table. You don't even have to be that good at that because it's not going to help you sometimes. Just as Barbarian figured out as he ran into a Spanish division, what can you do? You know, but try to do your best. And I just think it was a great game. This is one of the better games that we've played in several weeks. We do have games every Saturday at 8 a.m. Pacific, and we also have a lot of pickup games during the week. So anybody wanting to scratch that itch, hop on, especially on the weekends, and let us know. You can check out our website at kriegsspiel.org. And I want to thank everybody once again for watching the live stream of the podcast. And the full game is live streamed on our YouTube channel, so you can actually see the whole game. I think we called it freshmen versus sophomores or something like that because we had a mix of completely new players with slightly experienced players, and it went beautifully. It was a wonderful game. So thank you all, and thank you everyone for watching, and I will see you